Something strange happened to me. I'll be honest, I'm not really sure where to even begin. Or even if what I'm about to try to explain to you wasn't just some fever dream I had. The only thing I'm sure about is that this'll probably sound like some run-of-the-mill creepypasta. But I still feel the need to have this story out there. I guess I'll start by preferencing that I'm a huge Sonic fan. I have been since 2011. My first big console game of Sonic was Sonic Generations. So when years later they made a remake with an extra story mode where you could play as Shadow, and the fact that my old copy of Sonic Generations didn't work anymore, I jumped at the bit to get Sonic X Shadow Generations. I love the game. So much I beat both stories within a few days. I forgot how many exactly, though, but that's besides the point. Anyway, so one day I decided to play Shadow's game for fun. Things started out pretty normal. I played through the Space Colony Arc level, going through as fast as I could. Once I completed the level, I S-ranked it. I'm actually decently good. I've had tons of practice. Anyways, as I continued to play the other levels for fun, things were going great. I decided to skip the Radical Highway stages because they're the hardest ones in the whole game, at least to me. I haven't gotten past a D rank on them, so instead, I decided to do some of the boss fights. Starting off with the Bio-Lizard. This is when things started getting a little odd. So the fight starts off rather normally, running away from his toothy maw and his tail, dodging those purple orb things he spits out, and grinding up to his back to attack the weak point. Even the part where he sprouts out wings played out normally. The part that was strange was the fact that every time the Chaos Control meter filled up, it would do Chaos Control without me pressing the button. So when it did, I was like, what the heck? I didn't do that. Great. Is my game glitched? I know what you're probably thinking at this point, but what else was I supposed to think it was causing that strange issue? Anyway, I didn't really know how to fix this issue, so I just kept playing. It became real annoying once it got to the part where the Bio-Lizard leaps up onto the wall, sending tons of projectiles at you, and you need to keep using Chaos Spear to make sure they don't hit you and kill you. While doing so, it fills up the Chaos meter. The Chaos Control kept going off before the part the Bio-Lizard sends out the giant orb that you need to use Chaos Control at the right time in order to actually deflect. So it prolonged the boss fight to an annoying degree. I eventually beat it, but had a very low score. I then exited the boss fight and examined my controller to make sure that it's not the reason the game was acting weird. I then said, seems fine. Oh well, maybe my game just needs an update. I then continued playing, thinking, I'll update it later. And then I played the Metal Overlord fight. The Chaos Control issue still happens, but at this point I'm able to work around it, and do pretty well against Metal Overlord. Then once I get to the Mephiles boss fight, things seem back to normal. The entire boss fight plays out the way that it's supposed to, and the Chaos Control goes off only when I want it to. I beat him pretty quickly. Afterwards, I decided to just take a break from playing the bosses and just have fun in the open world, just skating around, beating up robots, and some of the Black Arms aliens, messing around with the Doom powers, and even just chilling and interacting with some of the characters, just standing around. Then at one point, once I got to that area that usually has nothing but the pod you get the Doom Surf power from, and that view of the endless white void, when suddenly something caught my attention. It was the Scepter of Darkness, or the Seal, as Shadow calls it, which prompted me to say, what's this doing here? Did my Xbox download a free DLC without me noticing? I then made Shadow walk over to it, and it gave me a prompt to interact with it, so I did. And then this cutscene plays of Shadow walking towards it, seemingly sharing my confusion while saying, what's that seal doing here? Something suspicious is going on here. Afterwards, he started reaching for it, and it shatters again, just like it did in Sonic 06. The exact same way from that scene where Shadow tried to put him back into the scepter. The next thing I knew, it loaded me into the Kingdom Valley level. Only this time, Mephiles was there, and he said,
"You think you can just get rid of me like that? I will restore myself to the timeline. Your interference is useless."
And then as I started making my way through the level, I noticed its difficulty was ramped up. Extra enemies and hazards causing me to say, "Oh, I get it, an extra challenge mode. Okay, let's see how well I can do." I was doing decently okay for quite a bit. Sure, occasionally I got hit by a spike ball or occasional enemy because they caught me off guard. That was until I broke through the stained glass window into that area where you're supposed to kill all the enemies and then the door opens. I killed all the enemies and then that filled up the chaos meter and it went off again on its own. It made it to where the door wouldn't open. So I was like, "No, not now!" Then somehow, all of a sudden, Mephiles appeared behind Shadow, somehow unaffected by the chaos control, and killed him, which really shocked me and made me say, "What the? When since could he do that?" As it loaded me back to the beginning of the level, I tried to shrug it off and kept playing the stage, and the same thing happened over and over and over until eventually somehow the chaos control meter didn't go off on its own, and I was able to continue the level without Mephiles killing me. I eventually got to the end of the stage with a C rank. Afterwards, I exited the level, and then another cutscene played. Mephiles hovered above Shadow as Shadow said,
"What is your quarrel with me? I don't even know who you are."
Causing Mephiles to say,
"You don't know who I am? I'll make you remember who I am!"
He then teleported both of them to Crisis City from Sonic's game. Only again, like Kingdom Valley, its difficulty was ramped up, causing me to say, "Wow, this is pretty cool. I didn't think they'd have Shadow go through one of Sonic's levels." Again, I started getting through decently up until at the lava pillars where you're meant to stomp them down. This time the chaos meter filled itself up without me attacking any enemies, and it went off on its own again as I was trying to stomp down one of the pillars, causing the pillar to not be able to move at all. And Mephiles once again teleports behind Shadow and kills him. This time he starts laughing about it. Causing me to say, "Okay, this is starting to freak me out. This is a little beyond a glitch at this point." Again, I try my best to shrug it off and keep playing. Again, the level loops over and I keep trying and it keeps happening over and over again until the chaos meter stopped filling up again, like it did for Kingdom Valley. Then again, I'm able to make it to the end of the level, this time with a D rank. And then another cutscene played.
Oh, isn't it ironic how cruel fate can be?
Then before Shadow can even respond, he teleports both of them again. But this time it's back to the open world white space area. Only this time it's as if you activated the Doom challenges. At this point I'm just totally confused and kind of unnerved, with no clear direction to know exactly where I'm supposed to go. I just started wandering around to different areas of the open world. I then noticed that every character you usually interact with, Maria, Orbot, Professor Gerald, etc., were all replaced by a Mephiles clone. Every time I interacted with them, all they would say was,
"I will restore myself to the timeline. Your interference is useless."
After all that, I just kept wandering around. I then accidentally landed into one of the purple goop areas, and the chaos meter filled itself up again, causing me to move even slower and get stuck, and it didn't wear off this time. Mephiles finally appeared again, but instead of killing Shadow right away, he started monologuing.
Look at you now, Shadow. Caught like a fly in a web. I found a way to take your ultimate power and turn it into your downfall. Now the oh-so-impressive ultimate life form is nothing more than a pathetic statue. Unable to fight like he says he always has.
I'm just watching all this in shock, and a weird feeling of dread comes over me, as somehow I was able to tell that Shadow was conscious during all this. Then Mephiles finished with,
Would you like to see my ultimate power?
He then transformed, much like before in his boss battle, but this time it was more grotesque. He grew even larger, and this time retained a lot of his features from his previous form, the parts that made him look like Shadow. Only he grew a mouth, a big mouth, with tons of teeth. Once he was done transforming, he grabbed Shadow, who was unable to do anything. In complete shock, unable to believe what I was seeing, I said, This can't be real. This has to be some sort of early April Fool's joke or something. Mephiles then shoved Shadow down his big, disgusting, toothy maw. He consumed Shadow. He ate Shadow. I couldn't believe it, as he roared victoriously. As he was doing so, everything around him was engulfed in darkness. Once the screen was completely black, I started hearing faint laughing get louder and louder, as if it was getting closer to the screen. Then all of a sudden, I started being able to see his piercing green pupils and red eyeballs and that disturbing grin. That disturbing, toothy grin. It looked like he was looking right at me as he said,
You're next.
Then all of a sudden this strange ringing noise started happening while he was maniacally laughing. For some reason during that, I was starting to pass out. And then I woke up much later and checked on the game. Somehow it was like none of that ever happened. I'm currently looking into trying to find out whether or not anyone else has ever experienced this or if I somehow just dreamed it all. Either way, I absolutely hope it was just a dream.